So, as you're probably aware, the BBC's been at the forefront of motion graphics for many decades, and it's developed in many ways. So with this project, we wanted to kind of showcase the development and the history of motion graphics at the BBC. But also the key USP was to work with the people who created the content and to hear their stories. And we worked with over 100 of them. So we have millions of examples to choose from, as you can imagine. But we made selections of thousands of them based on whether it illustrated key motion graphics work and was a kind of classic example, that it didn't contain third-party rights that needed to be cleared, was BBC IP, and ideally that the original designers can help tell us a story of its production. And we also wanted to make selections that represented lots of different genres and channels, because they've all developed in very different ways. So many of the examples came from the designers themselves, who had kept lots of their original works, such as models and sketches. But we also digitalized a lot of content, hundreds of examples of content, just to get the best quality versions that we could. And it was quite labor intensive making the selections and gathering all of the files and digitizing, but also the research and getting the metadata to accompany it was, and then categorizing into genres was quite a big job with a very, very small team. So it was quite a big ask. And obviously making the editorial decisions as to what goes in and stays out was also very hard. But key to the project was working with Ravensbourne. So they're an external partner in the academic sector. They wanted to host the site as part of their existing website. And so we had to work within existing templates and kind of more realistic budgets. And we think it was a strong collaboration between the BBC and Ravensbourne. And we think it's going to showcase great work and ultimately inspire a new generation, particularly as the BBC reaches the centenary of its being around. When we realised we couldn't or didn't want to include content that had third-party rights in it, because there wasn't the budget, there wasn't the staff, there wasn't the resources to check all of that, that restricted a lot of what could be featured. And we haven't yet included content from post-2004 from independent production companies for that very reason. So that narrowed our scope quite quickly. But also we wanted to feature as much original content from the designers as well, and gathering that content from people who hasn't come out of their cupboards for 50 years or something, or they haven't looked at it for ages, and trying to make sense of it, cataloguing it all, kind of giving it some sort of life. That was quite a big task. And people's memories fade with time as well. So people would try to remember things about it, and they kind of misremember parts of the process. And so trying to get them to kind of tie down the details and get the exact dates or the exact process or who was working on it was quite a tall order in the end. We were meant to launch the site in last year. So when COVID hit, it was meant to launch early in 2020. So it had to be delayed because staff at Ravensbourne and the BBC couldn't continue to work on it. The team changed hands, etc. So we had to kind of adapt accordingly, and we had to kind of digitize with independent production houses as opposed to in-house instead. So it had an impact, and it had a knock-on effect, but thankfully it wasn't huge.